Rick here with NoobHammer. I just got off a 3-hour long conversation with Stefan from One Last Blade. It was an amazing conversation where we discussed everything Grey Knights. Everything about the new leaks and where we think we're going to go with the 9th edition codex and new models and the whole 9 yards. So sit back, grab a brew, and listen to part 1 of this 3-hour interview. The other half will be over on One Last Blade. The link is in the description below. Thank you. Like, comment, subscribe, all of that, and of course, call your mother. Welcome to the latest NoobHammer interview. I'm Rick, and I'm with Stefan today, who a lot of you Grey Knight players will recognize from his very popular and growing YouTube channel, One Last Blade. So, Stefan, let's just jump right in. I just want to let everybody know that this is a brainchild of me basically walking my dog and keeping notes on what I was thinking about that I might like to see in the Grey Knights Codex. And now with all the last deluge of information over the last week or so about what might be coming for us, I figured out reaching out to Stefan would be an awesome opportunity to watch two dudes who love Grey Knights just wax poetic about this awesome faction. So,
I have so many thoughts, and yeah. Well, first, thank you so much for having me here. This is gonna be really fun. I've been legitimately, the last 2 days have been, for the small amount of information we've gotten, it's been like a huge hype train. And
right?
I've legitimately last night I was having trouble sleeping because I was just, and God, that makes me sound like such a nerd. Like I was legitimately having trouble sleeping because I was just thinking about what Grey Knights might get in our codex. It's been a long time since we've had a codex. 2017, like
yeah. So that is one of the things that I wanted to do. So a lot of my interviews have been Deathwatch related so far. So for those Grey Knights players that I'm now luring to our channels, I want to let them know that I'm going to have you go first because you are my guest. But why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, how long you've been playing, and then obviously, like, why did you choose Grey Knights?
Yeah, for sure, man. Appreciate it. I'm actually a relatively new Warhammer player. I avoided the hobby for decades just because I've worked at a game store, and I knew how I knew how expensive all of the models were, and I knew how drawn into it and time consuming that it could be. And I actually remember having a conversation with my wife, then girlfriend, told her that if she ever sees me like on the Warhammer 40,000 wiki or something, to close my computer and not let me dive into that. But
Just
a
slap
friend
it
of mine,
closed.
yeah, just slap it closed. But a friend of mine back in the summer of 2017, he ran a demo game for me, and I was deep into Magic the Gathering at that point,
Okay.
and I played Warhammer and was just like, this is the best.
You're like,
Look at my
damn
little
it.
guys. I'm rolling dice. My friend's taking his little guys off the table, and I was like, I'm just gonna buy a box, and then
So,
um,
so I'm gonna jump in and ask real quick. That first game? What was he playing, and what were you playing?
so he was the so I worked at are you familiar with Card Kingdom or Mock Sporting House in
No,
Seattle?
no.
It's a local game store, but we have a bar attached, and
Oh,
I was the
okay.
bartender there, and he was the event coordinator on the game side of things, and he had a Space Marine army and a Dark Eldar army. He had two of them, and he used them to demo games for people. And he gave me Space Marines, and then my other friend played Dark Eldar, and I fell in love with the Terminators because they were slow,
Oh
they could absorb
yeah.
so much fire, and I was just like, these guys are so cool. What are they all about? And my buddy, he rattled off a bunch of stuff about Rabute Gilliman and things like that, and I didn't know what the hell he was talking about. But all I knew was that these little armored dudes with their storm bolters and their fists walked towards a flying sailboat and punched it in half. And that was the coolest thing in the entire world.
Yeah, pretty much. All right, so then like our stories aren't that different. Like I got into it when quarantine started. I had friends that have played for a long time.
Oh wow, so
Uh,
you're really recent.
yeah, I'm like a year. I think I started. I think I bought a Grey Knights army off of a friend of mine that wanted to get rid of it in January or February of 2020. So like,
Wow.
yeah, I'm in it just over a year now. So a lot of my games have been masked up in a garage with the door open on like a frozen October night, and we're all like wearing mittens because
Yeah.
we're trying to,
Oh,
we're trying to be safe about it. We're like not touching each other's dice and all that because we
yeah.
were all like learning about the pandemic and all that. But
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean,
I
oof.
oh, I mean, you've been playing too, right? With folks masked up in your basement,
Yeah,
or
I
is it your
have. We used to have
downstairs?
we used to have a at my local game store. We used to have beers and battles on Thursday night, and that was every single week. I'd go in and I'd play Warhammer and I'd get drunk, and it was great. And but then suddenly that stopped, and
Yeah,
I had to figure out how to play games. And the only place I could do it was in my basement. So I bought a little bit of terrain, bought a few battle mats, and my brother was in my bubble, so we were able to hang out with each other, and I played just him for the first part of quarantine. And I did the same thing as you, kind of. We had a few times where I had some friends over. I took my table, took it out into the driveway, and then
yep,
thankfully it was sunny, and we set up some terrain and things like that. Um, God, it's so relieving to be able to hang out with friends now and actually
yeah,
like play face to face and use each other's dice and just talk to each other. And even just from like an audio perspective, like my videos sound so much better now that I don't have cloth
yeah.
masking
You're
everybody.
right. Yep, you're absolutely right. And my wife and I, quick aside, but my wife and I were up in Long Beach, Washington, a few weekends ago for just like a little getaway. And I'm down in Oregon, in Portland, and we have much stricter rules still in place. Even
Yeah.
though we're in a low risk county, we went up there and there was a sign on the door, and I just ignored it because it's like mask something something something, and I just was like whatever. I've got my mask. I go inside, and no one's wearing masks, and I'm standing there in the doorway, and I'm like, what's going on? And then I asked, "Is like, oh right, oh I remember hearing about this on the news. Like I don't have to wear a mask here if I'm vaccinated, right?" And they're like, "Nope."
Yeah.
So I was walking around like I sheepishly took my mask off.
It's a
Like,
weird transition.
yeah, it really is.
I'm trying to purposefully go out into the world these days. I just went and got lunch with a friend because I'm trying to start that social healing, so that I can kind
Yeah, for
of
sure.
jump back into that. I mean, God, it's such a weird time. And but it's kind of uniting a little bit, like knowing that everybody kind of went through this, if that
In a
makes any
way,
sense.
yeah. Yeah, and
Yeah.
I feel a lot of the same way you do. I don't know you that well, but like on your videos, you seem like very outgoing and gregarious, and I'm the same way. Like I come home from a terrible day at work, and like I want to go out with friends. I want to hang out. I want to drink some beers.
Yeah.
I want to tell stories and like listen to music. And I haven't been able to do any of that stuff for a
Yeah.
long time now. So
It's like Warhammer scratched that itch perfectly for me back at both before COVID and during. Just being able to, because I'd get off my shift at my bar, and then I'd just walk over to the other side of the store, and I brought my Grey Knights with me to work in the morning, and then just hang out, and my friends serve me beer, and I play games against Harlequins and get crushed, and it was great. Like,
that's awesome. Yeah.
it's
Well, coming soon to NoobHammer, there are a lot of channels that do like really good tactical, competitive bat reps. So we were thinking about doing like Beer Hammer, just
I am also thinking the
just
same thing.
right on right on stream. Like we were gonna make like little, basically like open war cards that add crazy effects, and then make it like, all right, if you spend a CP, you take a drink or whatever. I mean, that's we should probably narrow the scope a little bit more, but you see what I'm saying. So
My brother and I have done our in the last 4 years that we've been playing. Because he got in at the same time that I did. He chose Thousand Suns, and so we had a nice little rivalry there with Grey Knights and Thousand Suns. So side note, we're both super stoked for whatever battle box this is.
I was gonna say,
out.
yeah. Also, hour-long psychic phases. Anybody? Let's go.
It's great. It was weird because I played just him for the first like month or so that we got into Warhammer, and I just assumed the psychic phase lasted 45 minutes for each person on each side. And so it was weird when I went to play Necrons or something after that, and I just did whatever I wanted in the psychic phase and moved on. But when we do, we've had our fair share of beer hammer games, and we have the classic one rule, which I think might be the only beer variation that we do, that whenever you finish a drink, you can put that can or bottle anywhere on the table, and it is immediately terrain.
Yeah, that's... Yeah,
classic.
Jason Snagowski told me a little bit about that. At like, they would actually do that at tournaments at night. Like,
yes,
in little like fun games, and it was basically and it was always 2v2, and the team would effectively try to chug as many light beers as possible to create like little like. So you're just pounding like PBRs or whatever to make terrain.
Definitely have like watched my brother lining up a shot with his Scarab Occult Terminators, and I pound a Rainier and just slam it in front of them to cut off line of sight.
It's not even on your turn. It's just
no.
whenever.
As soon as you finish a beer, you can put it wherever you want.
Also, great choice with the Rainier beer, by the way.
Oh, I love Rainier. I used to.
So you're a bartender, and I just like to cook and drink and make crazy mixed drinks. So we may have to do a completely unrelated like chat. All about
at some point. Plus,
drinks,
at some point I'd love to get down to. I have a bunch of friends in Portland, and next time I'm down there, whenever this is all done, it'd be awesome to set up a game. I would love that.
I got last weekend. I've got enough room to actually run 3 tables. So
wow,
love to have you.
So much space. Holy shit.
Well, there's 2 in my garage and then 1 out in the driveway. So if it's not a nice day, the third can't be in the driveway. But it was a very nice day last week.
Nice. Yeah, I got the 1 table in my basement. Theoretically I could set 1 up in my garage as well if I wanted, but I've yet to find a reason for multiple large tables at once. Excuse me. Again, COVID.
Yeah, right. And you're like probably acquiring more stuff than you've ever had.
Oh my god,
right?
Yeah.
Like you've only got X amount of space, and you're like gathering more things to put in the same amount of space.
Yeah, it's been more curated, if that makes sense. Like the stuff I'm getting, I feel like I need now, and I'm getting rid of a lot of things. I'm lining up getting rid of my car actually, which I haven't done anything with it all throughout COVID, and now I'm kind of accepting that I don't need it in my life. My wife has her car, and I think we do fine on one. But that's beside the point. That's a whole thing.
It is, yeah. We've gotten. I mean, I love this conversation, but we have gotten a little off.
A little away
base.
from Grey Knight leaks.
So let's talk again about why Grey Knights? Why did you say these are the boys for me?
So traditionally I am a like whenever I play tabletop RPGs or video games. Traditionally, I will choose like the paladin or the sword and board fighter. Like I'm very much, that's my ideal fantasy archetype is the melee, like just warrior who fights monsters. And Grey Knights, initially, actually, the first 2 factions I was looking at were Blood Angels and Tau. And Blood Angels because Space Marines, and I wanted the whole like holy monks that run into battle and fight monsters, but the whole super explicit fascism of the Imperium kind of bothers me a little bit. Not so much that I'm like I won't engage with it at all, because I do also recognize that it's fiction, that it's something that I like. That's kind of the fun of it. Also, is it's satire and
it's absolutely like bonkers extreme too.
And being the ridiculous, like, villainous faction almost has a lot of appeal to it. But it was putting me off a little bit. And I liked Tau because they were the good guys. But
if you're into mind control, they're totally
and well, whoever was explaining it to me didn't give me the whole ethereals, pheromones thing.
Sure.
They just told me space communists. But gameplay-wise, just the Tau's whole like thing just doesn't appeal to me. The shooty guys with very, very terrible close range and squishy bodies. Um, so I looked further into different chapters of Space Marines, and Grey Knights stood out like a beacon because they are the embodiment of that trope that I love, which is the like 1970s fantasy novel cover of like Conan standing against some giants or something. And the
Yeah,
and there's a piece of actually I'm not so side note, not a big fan of Age of Sigmar, but there's a piece of Age
never
of
played.
Sigmar art from I think it's from I think it's from the Warhammer Quest one with the Tzeentch stuff. Silver Tower, that's what it was called.
Ah, okay.
There's
Yeah,
a there's a piece of
I am almost entirely unversed in Age of Sigmar at all. So, other
yeah
than if I ever played, I do the little floaty dwarves with guns because dwarves are awesome. But
yeah they're
that's
rad.
I
But
know nothing else about the game.
there's a here I'm gonna see if I can find it. I'll send it to you later. But uh, there is a piece of art that is a single Stormcast Eternal, and Stormcast Eternals are kind of lame, but there's there's a an image of one of them sort of standing in an impossibly large like uh, uh, chamber, like an underground like chasm, but it's like artificial. And there's two lords of change just sort of like kneeling before him, staring at him and studying them. And it is just the focal point of the piece of art is just one Stormcast Eternal with these two impossibly powerful, huge demons staring at him. And that embodies the archetype that I like so much of just like the
The paladins
like
fighting against like
yeah
unwavering odds. Yeah,
yeah like
yeah.
the clearly outmatched like
Unsh
just warrior.
yeah, unshakable faith though. Like, do it
Yeah, and
anyway.
so Grey Knights embody that completely. Like that's their whole deal, and their enemies are explicitly the bad guys. Like there's arguments to be made for like Eldar or even some like chaos factions. Like some heretics are like, "Oh, maybe they have a point." Like the whole Badab War thing,
Mhm.
Badab War
I think
thing.
it's spot on,
Like
but I don't know.
there's some questionable stuff there. And the
There,
Imperium, not
there,
great, but
there will be some very upset lore people in our comments sections
yeah,
letting us know
it's
exactly how to
Badab.
pronounce it. Yeah, it'll be
But
fine.
but but demons are objectively like the manifestations of like emotion, and their goal is to devour and corrupt humanity. And so the Grey Knights, as questionable as some of their actions are, like their goal and their foe, like it's objectively noble. And I love that. And it's like it's one of the only factions where that's the case in the game, where they legitimately have a like straight evil villain to face against. It's impossible odds. Technically, the Grey Knights can never win their whole like crusade against chaos because
Not with that
the only
attitude.
yeah. My brother asked this to me once. We have sometimes if we drink a little bit, we'll have conversations where he talks about how he'll ask me like he'll drill into me and try to get me to admit that the emperor is dead and the imperium is corrupt, and I never will. And
Good man.
he asked me once, "What is the end goal of the Grey Knights?" And I'm like, to destroy chaos." And he was like, "How do you do that?" And I said, I guess kill every single person in the universe. Because there's no
Some
real way to like, as long as people are feeling anger or jealousy or desire, they're gonna manifest demons in the warp.
well,
So
you should just let them know that it's not the destination that matters; it's the journey.
it's the journey, and the
it's the
journey is stained with
is
blue blood. It's
yes
great.
is hundreds of millions, billions, or trillions of dead demons.
It's the best. But yeah, so Grey Knights are that Grey Knights like every now and then on the tabletop, I get this moment where if we go into some detail about maybe like competitive stuff later, I can talk about like
Oh,
my experience
absolutely.
I had at a
Yeah.
tournament. But every now and then I get like my ideal situation, which is one Grey Knight's character standing against impossible odds, and I make all the invuln saves, and he just weathers fire, and it just always feels like those are the moments I love when I've got my one little like gleaming warrior standing against hordes of whatever's in front of him.
Well, if you haven't seen my latest bat rep, and this isn't just a plug, like this is a good opportunity to let you know there is a Space Marines Captain versus Caldor Draigo
Ooh,
square off, and that was pretty cool. When I was like, oh my gosh, my warlord's actually gonna fight his warlord, like mano a mano, 1-on-1. This will be great.
so great. I had my grandmaster went in up against my buddy's Archon in a recent video, but I had a technical issue and we lost the footage of specifically that fight. So the video gets to before he charges in, and then the video picks up after the Archon's dead, or not the Archon, Exarch. No, what's Autarch? God, Eldar.
Uh, it's
You know,
it's Xeno scum. It's whatever.
Xeno scum. But yeah, I love that. To circle back to the question you're asking, I love that aspect. The like the noble like incorruptible hero standing against impossible odds. That's what drew me to Grey Knights, and I think it's what keeps me interested in them, especially with how terrible they were in 8th edition.
I I mean, we could get into that in a bit. I do. Oh, I mean, I know they were bad before Psychic Awakening, or at least that's the story anyway. But for me, it was I was looking at Grey Knight. So dudes in suits, like dudes in power armor, is a sci-fi trope. I absolutely I gobble it up. I will.
Boba
I
Fett,
will.
Samus Aran, that kind
Yeah.
of thing.
So like, I played all the Dawn of War games. I like knew I was gonna play Space Marines. And I love like blue and gold. Like those are actually some of my favorite colors. So I was like, looking at Ultramarines, but then I'm like, Ultramarines, like whatever. Like this the most, canned Space Marine faction. So then
The typical guys.
yeah, so then I discovered Space Wolves, and like I have Nordic descent, and I thought that was actually pretty cool. I'm like, wow, I can ride like half robotic bionic wolves into combat. But I also didn't want to just have a combat army. So anyway, one thing led to another, and like you, I really also love the trope, like fantasy or otherwise, of like the elite of the elite, like if it's a 1,000 like aspirants become an actual Space Marine, like 1,000 Space Marines could possibly ever be a Grey Knight, and then 1,000 Grey Knights could possibly ever be a a Purifier, and so on and so forth. Like that's like super cool to me. And then I realized from a game perspective, they're a complicated like faction to play. They play in every single phase, and unlike that I had friends saying like don't play them. They're really complicated. They're not in a great space like now, but I was like, but I want to play in every phase. I want to be doing something all the time. So I picked up Grey Knights because it scratched all those itches. They were complicated with little like tricks you could do. They were like you said, the incorruptible heroes. They were the elite of the elite. And then they have the whole secrecy thing involved, which is kind of cool. So
Not quite as bad as Dark Angels, but yes.
You mean Chaos Angels? All right.
Grey Knights are really cool. Big fan.
Yeah, and they have such great models too. So we'll get to this in a little bit. But Castellan Crowe, as you know, is being like redone. He's getting a plastic model. Well, they hinted heavily towards it. I would be very surprised if Castellan Crowe did not get a new model. He's the only pewter model I have. And I'm kind of like, I don't want a new model. Like, it's such a neat little model.
It's pretty rad. Also, just fluff-wise, Castellan Crowe is such a badass, and I'm so disappointed that his
stat line is so bad right now.
He's just not good.
Yeah.
Even if he was like 50 points, maybe if he was like 50 points, but he's just so not good. He needs something. It's bizarre because his stats, his weapons and everything reflect the fluff. He just needs to be buffed more in some way.
The Blade of Antwer or whatever is all like terrible because he's keeping it contained.
He's keeping it bound. It shouldn't have any AP or anything, which is
but like
great.
I mean, it's great lore-wise, but it's also not great. It's not great on the tabletop.
he needs some rules or something to
Yeah.
amend that, because I do like the lore, like, and the fluff reason behind him whacking people with a stick. It's because he has an unquenchable demon that he is barely containing at all times.
Yeah. He is so pure in
Yeah, he's
stature.
the
Yeah.
only one who can do it.
Yeah. So let's get into all the leaks and what we'd like to see and where things
Yes.
might
Yep.
be going. So it's probably best to start with what we know, or what we highly suspect is probably a better way to phrase that. So we do know that we'll be getting extra wound for all of our power armor and our Terminators that are not Paladins. Well, we actually don't know that for sure, but we'll get
That's
to
I want
that.
to talk about that because
Yeah. So I'm safe. I mean, we can get into it a little bit. I have a whole section on just Paladins and what I want to
all right.
see them do. But so we know the extra wound for at least our, strike squads, purifiers, all of them, and then also the Terminators. Because as you know, putting our Terminators at almost 40 points apiece onto the board right now with 2 wounds feels real bad when there's so much 2 wound damage out there.
Oh, it's so rough.
Yeah. So we also know we're gonna be getting a Brotherhood keyword, and we know this from I think it was August. We saw the Land Raider Banisher.
Land Raider Banisher.
Yeah, it came out. I'm gonna switch to the other view real quick. Actually, no, I won't, because it has the wrong thing on there. All right, actually, you know what? We're gonna do this live.
Right.
So yes, we know that we're gonna get the Banisher keyword. We know that that will hopefully be giving us access to effectively dynasties for Necrons, or witch cults for Dark Angels. Here we go. So there's this new Brotherhood keyword that's going to be out. So I'm suspecting that, because if you look at the 8th edition codex right now, there are the 8 Brotherhoods. I think it's 8. It might be 9.
It is 8. I'm very familiar.
Okay, right. So there are 8, and then I don't suspect we're gonna get 8 in the book, but we'll probably get, we're probably gonna get Volduses in there, and
well,
I
think we will. I think they're gonna
really?
be I think they're gonna be similar to like Drukhari, like Cabals and things like that. All of the and like the dynasties, like you mentioned. I think we're gonna get 8. I think that if it follows patterns, like I played against the new Admech Codex yesterday, and I got to mess.
Very cool.
Oh, it's a complicated book. There's so much going on.
That's what the two people I play with that play Admech have said the exact same thing. But
it's just there's so much there. The Admech player I played against loved it, and he thinks it's great. But it's just like I didn't know what was happening. But they have each of their Forge Worlds has its own separate thing. And I can't imagine Games Workshop wouldn't give all 8 Brotherhoods bespoke relic, warlord traits, and individual aspects of that.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's also one of the things that that's why I brought up this specific topic is so I started playing. I think I got 1 game at 8th in, and then 9th hit. Right, that's how short my Warhammer career has been, and we lost our never increasing smite, right?
That was incredibly depressing for me.
People like really lamented it, and I get it, but like that would be I think that's gonna be Voldus's Brotherhood's thing. Or I mean, it could be. I mean, I don't know, but like
Very
it could
well
be.
Could be.
Like if you bring that Brotherhood, right? Because Voldus is like the most powerful Grey Knight Psyker. I think there's a book where he like pulls a planet into the warp or out of the warp, one or the other. Like, dude is like insane. He helped resurrect Reboot Gilliman. Like,
yeah, and there was nobody questioned that he was there. I remember that. That was so strange.
Yeah, like who is this guy? Oh, don't worry about it.
He's a silver dude.
Anyway, like so I foresee all of these Brotherhoods getting some. I'd love to see one that got like vehicle buffs. Like maybe one of them, all the vehicles get tides. I mean, we don't even know if tides will survive. I suspect that they will. It's a very
like
cool thing that we have.
if you look through the 8th edition codex, like the Brotherhoods all have like their own sort of bespoke flavor and stuff.
Yeah.
My Grey Knights, I've always flavored them as the 7th Brotherhood, and I'm telling myself that when the new codex comes out and we supposedly get Brotherhood rules, regardless of what the rule for the 7th Brotherhood is,
You're
I'm
gonna
going to play them.
it.
I'm telling myself that I don't know how much I'll adhere to that.
You do stick to your guns, which I can definitely respect.
Yeah.
So
we'll it'd be, or maybe I'll just make a new Brotherhood at that point. But yeah, I always oh god, I'm just looking at the art in this crappy old codex. It's so cool. I just love it.
It's a pretty book for sure. Games Workshop does not disappoint with that stuff.
No.
Absolutely.
Art is tremendous. It's one of their biggest assets.
So we're thinking Warlord trait, relic, and then some kind of overall ability for every Brotherhood, however many they decide to put in there. I think the Admech Codex had like 4, or is it 5 Forge Worlds? There's Mars, Metallica, Lucius or Lucinius,
Ryza.
the one that always, Ryza, and then there's the one that sounds like a skin condition. Agrippa or something. Yeah,
Agrippa,
something like that.
Yeah.
It always sounds like
Styges.
Oh, okay,
well,
so
let's see.
No, Styges. Anyway,
Styges, Graia, Agrippina, Lucius,
Mars,
Metallica, Ryza. If I said, I think there might be 7
you
or
already
8.
said Ryza. So 5 to 6 at least, 7 or 8 probably, and then I would actually like to see some rules in there like the Necron custom dynasty, like pick one from here, and then like when I started I did Crusade and I made myself the 12th Brotherhood because I didn't want to be one that was already in the book, and
That's
so
fair.
it would kind of be neat to make my own Brotherhood. Like I don't know what the bonuses will be, but it'd be cool to like pick one from this and one from this and make my own thing, even if it's not quote unquote good, you know.
I have mixed feelings there because on the one hand, the biggest appeal of Warhammer is making your guys into your dudes. Like they're unique. That's the reason that I don't like to play named characters, is because I want Samandus to be the star of my show. The moment I bring Draigo onto my channel, it's about Draigo. It's no longer about my guys. The Grey Knights though, because there's a specific number of them. There's just like under 1,000 Grey Knights total.
Sure.
The idea of adding more Brotherhoods, I'm not opposed to it, but it is weird. It is like it's not like Necrons where there's like a new Tomb World rising up every Thursday, like or
it's Tomb World Thursday.
Yeah,
Tomb World Tuesday would make more sense.
World Tuesday.
You know.
Or even like Death Guard, where they had legion-sized forces. Like when they broke off in the Heresy, it was something like multiple hundreds of thousands of Plague Marines at that point. And so there's enough that you can make your own warband. Yeah, you can make your own plague companies. It would make sense. But Grey Knights, I don't know. There's a very limited number of them, and so it would feel. I don't think it would be bad, but it definitely would be questionable having there be custom Brotherhood traits.
This is where you and I, so like we've been pretty much in lockstep this whole conversation, and here's where, and not to say that I don't like my fluff or my lore, or I love Crusade games, and you know I love how they let you take non-named characters, name them, and like make them as good if not better than the actual named characters, but I also really love flexibility. I mean, that's one of the reasons my other faction is Deathwatch, is they are just the most flexible like faction in the game, probably.
Swiss Army knife faction.
Like, yeah, you can do anything you want. So from a game design perspective, I think that it would be neat to see custom stuff.
No argument there.
But yes, from the lore, it's like kind of like, don't. It's not. It's very strict how they're like set up, and you know, I don't even if they were allowed to have 15, 18, 30 Brotherhoods, like could they even make enough Grey Knights to fit? Like they only get so many recruits, and only so many of them make it, you know.
Yeah, it's I did the math once. It's something like 1 in every, like, if you're a Psyker, and if you're just a random Psyker on a random world who hasn't even been brought in for like Space Marine training yet, and the Inquisition signals you as like, maybe that guy could be a Grey Knight, it's like 1 out of every like 6 million of those chosen people actually becomes a Grey Knight.
Yeah. And the rest of them die somewhere along the way, or
somewhere along the way,
are driven mad. Yeah.
Sometimes you're just turned into a torpedo.
What?
So there's one thing that if you have one thing, the Inquisition is so fucking terrible. If you are one thing they will do if you are exceptionally gifted with psychic powers, but they discover that for whatever reason you either can't control it, you're non-compliant, or you just won't take gene seed and you can't be utilized as an astropath, then they're like, what do we do with this incredibly powerful Psyker?
I thought you
Let's
just
load him up
feed
in
him...
a let's load him up in a warhead.
Oh. This is new.
Yeah, that's how they make.
I thought they just fed them to the Emperor. Because
they feed them to the Emperor. They feed the weaker ones. But if you have like an exceptionally powerful, uncontrollable guy, it's to them they're like, I don't want to take this nuke out back and shoot it, so I might as well put it in the warhead of a missile and shoot it at a planet. Position's bad.
I'm gonna have to look that up. I've actually never heard that before. That is kind of hilarious.
Yeah, it's to be a man in such times is to live under the most oppressive regime imaginable. Isn't that what it says at the beginning of the core book?
There's that meme that it's like, you know, fans of every other fandom thinking about the idea of like living in that world. And it's like, squee, yeah, I can't wait. And then it's like fans of 40K, and they're like, no, God no, absolutely not.
That.
That's awful. All right, so Grey Knights, Thousand Suns Battle Box, that was teased about a week ago now. Well, it was teased like a week and a half ago, and it was confirmed not that long ago. 4 or 5 days now.
I have a question there. I've been seeing that. I've been seeing people say it's confirmed. I haven't been able to find anything about it.
So yeah, Warhammer community, actually, I have it. I have the link, actually. Let me
send it to me because I am eternally dubious.
Oh gosh, it's okay. I will send you the link. But then so they had one where they said that they may be coming to a battle box near you soon, and there was some art of like some swirling warp stuff. But then a few days later, they actually showed what I assume is the art that'll be on the back of the box. And there's like a Dread Knight back there, and like a Strike Squad, and then it's like 4 Helldrakes or something. It's
I remember I saw that as well.
Yeah,
and I read through that article, and I might just have missed it, but I don't recall them explicitly saying their battle box. The only reason I'm being skeptical is because when Psychic Awakening, Ritual of the Damned was teased, my brother and I felt the same thing. We were like, oh shit, there was that Eldar box that had the new Banshees, and like, oh man, they're gonna do a battle box with each Psychic Awakening. And then we heard about Ritual of the Damned, and we were like, oh, that's gonna be Thousand Suns versus Grey Knights. That's gonna be so cool. We're each gonna get a new model. We're gonna get a battle box. And then it came around, and they were like, no battle box, and the new model is Dark Angel. And we were like, okay, that's fine.
Well, okay, so I mean, I don't know. It depends on what's in it. Right, I've probably got, and you just had that competition on your page to see how many points worth of Grey Knights you have.
Yeah,
and you had like 5,416 or something.
Exactly that number.
Wow.
Well done. Yeah, wow. That was exactly it.
I can't remember my wife's birthday, but I can remember how many Grey Knights.
Nailed it. You should have guessed that a week ago. I'd be painting a Space Marine for you right now.
Oh, well, I did guess in that, but I did, and I did some quick mental math. I'm like, I know what those are worth, and but I didn't know what all the like weapon options you had and stuff on it, so I just kind of, anyway.
No, that's fair. I think it would have been almost impossible to accurately guess. The guy who ended up guessing, and I'm going to paint him a salamander, which is exciting. But the guy who ended up guessing it, he guessed it within like 10 minutes of me posting the video, and I was like, okay, I guess I'll see if anybody else guesses that exact number.
Did you do a sweep for like webcams in your house after that?
Yeah.
I don't know how he got so. Anyway, yeah. So I have about like probably 3,500 points worth of Grey Knights, and that's a guess. Nice. I haven't actually sat down and like counted it out. So it depends. My point is, it depends on what's in the box. Like, you know, if it's 10 more Strike Marines and like a Dread Knight, I might be like, because I already have so many of all of those. I
Yeah.
don't know if I need. I already have 2 Dread Knights. I've never run more than 2 at a time. Like,
I would
the
buy
thing
it.
is, it'll probably have the new Castellan Crowe model in it, and I'm
Yeah.
not gonna want to go on eBay and spend $70 for a Castellan Crowe model.
So I want to talk about the idea of a new Castellan Crowe real
Which
quick.
is a great transition because that's actually the next topic on my list. So
Perfect.
take it away.
So we've seen 2 leaks for the Grey Knights. Well, one of them's not a leak. One of them's just the errata that was released. The errata doesn't change his points reasonably because he nothing's changed.
Well,
But I think his price. Let me just look at it real quick.
Yeah,
His
so
price.
I've got it up here actually.
It's 90 points in the Munitorum Field manual.
So his price goes up
5 points. To me,
Right.
that signifies they're just maybe giving him an extra rule. If he was the new model, I think they'd have given him more rules and thus a bigger points increase. I can't imagine they'd be producing a new model of Castellan Crowe and then not make him a fucking beat stick.
Yeah, I mean I don't know. It really depends. I mean he's already by himself got Purifying Flame, just like a whole squad of purifiers, right?
Yeah.
Like, the guy's already, and I know that's not specifically melee combat power, but that's
Pretty much is.
really big smite.
Yeah.
Like,
It's this is just me with my skeptical hat on. I have a tough time believing they would release the first new Grey Knight sculpt in 4 or 5 years. I think it might be 5. The first new Grey Knight sculpt in 5 years and not make him a powerhouse. And if he's only going to be 90 points, I don't think he's going to be a huge powerhouse because he's still less. Is he less than the normal? He's less than everybody else, aside from the champion.
Brother Captain Stern is gonna be 120. A Brother Captain's gonna be 110. Brotherhood Champion's gonna be 70.
Yeah, and I can't like.
He's kind of like a Brother Captain of the Purifiers.
He's a champion because he has the similar. He has this. What is it called?
Well, he is
perfect weapon.
He is 20 points more than a champion.
Which might just account for Purifying Flame. I could be wrong, and I'll happily be wrong. I'm being conservative about it. He's definitely not going to be my initial thought.
This is great, actually. Like this is great because I'm like super optimistic and like really happy, go lucky about what we might get, and you're kind of like holding me back. Like,
I've got that I want to just say sweet summer child.
There might be some of that too, for sure. Like
my initial thought when we saw that like furry like little animated video of like ooh a Zanger and is that Castellan Crowe? My initial thought was they were gonna have Primaris Crowe was gonna be the new thing, like he would cross the Rubicon.
Yeah, that's actually in my notes too. I was like, is he gonna cross the Rubicon?
Not for an increase of 5 points.
No, because that would be at least one more wound.
One more wound, one more attack.
Yeah, like I don't think he's gonna. I don't think he's gonna cross the Rubicon either. But it would be neat to get a plastic.
It would be really cool. If we had, but if like, and so that's why I'm dubious. If we saw if the Munitorum Field manual gave him an increase in like 20 or 30 points, yeah, that means they're tacking another rule on there. Maybe they're giving him more attacks. Maybe they're making his weapon better. And if they were doing that, I'd be more confident they were going to produce like a plastic model for him. Again, I hope so. It'd be really, really cool. I just maybe.
Well,
maybe.
You've been playing the game long enough to be crushed by Games Workshop too. I have not. I have not. So the sky is rosy for me.
Excellent. Keep that.
Hold on
to it.
I don't know.
Yeah.
So I want to switch really quick to what I suspect might be happening, and one of the things I'd like to see changed is Psycannons going up from 1 damage base to 2.
Yes,
because
I believe that's the case.
Yeah, I think so. For our viewers, with that Land Raider Banisher data sheet that we saw back in August now, almost a year ago now, they have that twin Psycannon on there.
guy.
Yeah, exactly. I have a Raider. I have a Land Raider too, and I've never actually put it on the table because, yeah, exactly.
The twin Psycannon.
Yeah, so I think we might see, because the way that heavy weapons generally work, from what I understand, is they get, well, I guess in this case it's a twin, not a heavy, but it's got two more shots than a normal Psycannon, and one more damage, but otherwise the profile is the same. -1 AP, strength 7. So I would love... I can't see... Like, right now, I don't take Psycannons on anything, because
Same.
1 damage just feels bad. In a game with so many things with 2 wounds, 1 damage feels so bad to shoot. Whereas Psycannon in Tide of Convergence, which I know you don't use much more than Tide of Shadows, but is guaranteed 2 damage. So it's like harder to wound, but it's a guarantee, and way more shots, and I can guarantee a dead Space Marine, right? Like, maybe I'm thinking in the old pre-Drakari meta way too, of like everything is toughness 4, armor save of 3, and 2 wounds, and now it's like we have to kill the Drakari, and how do you do that?
And
they're only 1
now,
wound.
but it kills you.
Yeah, so I would like to see Psycannons go to 2 damage, or I just don't see them being used very much, just like they aren't used very much now.
I genuinely think that the profile we see on the Land Raider Banisher, the twin Psycannon, chop that in half, so just give it 3 shots and strength 7, AP 1, 2 damage. I think that's going to be the Psycannon base. Just
that is a slightly beefier heavy bolter. That's a strength 7 heavy bolter then at that point.
Or an autocannon with an additional shot.
Yeah.
And I think that that's what they're going to do. I think historically, I mean, if you look at any other vehicle, something says twin, it's just double the number of shots of the normal version.
Yeah.
The assault cannon or the twin heavy bolter, that kind of stuff. It would be weird for them to deviate that, like, from that markedly.
Did I have the... I don't know if I had the points cost up for... Oh man, I just totally spaced what I was gonna say. Sorry. Very professional interview here.
Yeah. I mean, Psycannons are only 5 points.
That's what I was
if you
trying
look at the strike
to
squad.
look up. But aren't they
really
7?
Interesting.
Aren't they 7 right now? If
That's
you were
obscene.
They're so they're 7 right now, but when we're supposed to get our codex, according to the Munitorium field manual anyway, I think they actually dropped to 5. And silencers, for the most part, end up being free. It looks like they're a free upgrade for a lot.
Yeah, that I am also reading it that way as well.
Yeah, and I love silencers. Like rolling 24 shots for a purgation squad feels really fun.
So I
know you don't like your purgation squads.
Oh yeah, well, I don't know. It's mostly just because they're 1 wound, but most Grey Knights players do swear by silencers. And I've never been able to tell what that weapon is for. I don't know what it wants to be. It's strength 4, which makes me think it's a horde clearer, but it's D3 damage, which makes me think it wants to take out characters or vehicles, but it's 0 AP, so it's clearly not meant for characters or vehicles. And
it's also just, lots of shots, so you would also think it's for clearing hordes.
Yeah, but then it's got D3 damage, and it's like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing, Silencer? What do you want to be?
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know. Usually when I need to like punch through, like if you look at my bat rep, again, you'll watch a lot of silencers punch through an pulsar with bring down the beast, and convergence bringing it up to like strength 5, and then I've got other buffs. Well, I mean, they're only gonna wound on 5s anyway, but that's beside the point. It also, like, I had a chaplain with extra AP on him, and then they got extra AP from Psychic Onslaught, and anyway, they do okay. But could you trust them to punch through like 3 Helldrakes in 1 turn? No, you're not gonna. That's not gonna happen.
Yeah, I did a game recently where I actually did all of that on, like, for the first time ever. I did all of that onto 4 Psycannons in my Purifier squad, and I didn't give them the chaplain buff. Now that I think about it, but it was withering like on the Psycannons, getting them to strength 9, AP 2 damage each. I was able to almost take down an Eldar super heavy tank, and then I realized I was entirely out of command points.
and you're only rocking 1 damage at that point. You know, like
Yeah, well,
it's
in
really...
Convergence, it's 2.
It is, yeah. And with
Yeah.
Psychic Onslaught, no, Psychic Onslaught does not increase damage. That's right.
Psychic Onslaught increases the strength and the AP.
Yep.
Yep. Yeah, and it was good. It was good, and I almost took down an Eldar super heavy tank, but it wasn't worth the amount of command points and stuff I spent for bringing down the beast, for fight on the move, for Cybolt ammunition.
One of the things that people forget often, and I did this too, is bringing down the beast is like army wide against that vehicle, and if you pop it in the shooting phase, it only lasts through the phase, but like if you pop it at the beginning of the shooting phase, like even your Stormbolters are re-rolling wounds, man. That's
I love Stormbolters. I feel like not enough good is said about them, but like we can clear chaff so easy, and I love that. And like to what you were saying earlier, like Grey Knights are active in every phase. You don't really think of Grey Knights as a shooting army, but
what
you get 20 or like most people, like if you look at a Grey Knight,
go ahead and roll 40 shots from like
a
10-man Terminator squad.
But if you look at this guy, your first thoughts are glowing melee weapon, and he's probably a psychic indestructible badass. And so just at a glance, one like an outsider wouldn't think Grey Knights are a shooting army, but they can dump out so much fire. It's ridiculous, and I love it.
My one of the first friends I played Nids, and he loved to play Gaunt Horde armies, and he stopped bringing Horde armies against my Grey Knights because
reasonable.
Like 40 shots, astral aim, psychic ammunition, like.
Can you imagine if we had access to? Can you imagine if we had access to Ospec scan? Like.
Yeah. Right. Go ahead. Drop in my backfield. Do it.
Would love that.
All right. So one of the other things that we know, or we can actually probably just assume, is that Kaldor Draigo, our Supreme Grandmaster, so our Chapter Master, is going to lose his reroll all hits aura. He will probably gain the Chapter Master style, where he's like, this unit for this turn can reroll all hits, and then he'll keep his reroll ones bubble for just hits of 1.
It's going to bring us in line with the other Space Marine chapters, which I think is good. At the moment, I'm really enjoying my Grandmasters being able to reroll their own ones because they don't care about the core keyword. But I think it'll bring us in line, and I'm hoping, and that's honestly also, like it's a big. I've had a couple of people ask me in like recent, like in the last couple of days since we got the MFM points drop. They're like, oh, so this is what Terminators are going to cost when they have 3 wounds, and this is what Strike Squads are going to cost when they have 2 wounds. You should play these on your channel. You should play them on your channel with that many wounds, since you know the points cost. But I don't know what else is going on there. I don't know how our powers are changing. I don't know how our weapons are changing.
I don't know if you saw that 2 wound band rep, but I just pretty much added 3 points to every single non-character infantry unit. That's what
turns out you were pretty close.
I was. I was paid too much for my power armor, but I paid too little for my Terminator, so it ended up kind of balancing out.
Oh my god, I'm so excited for 3 wounds. It's gonna be insane.
Yeah. So we're gonna get there. We're losing the Adeptus Astartes keyword, and we're gaining the Santic Astartes keyword. I am confident that this is just to make sure there's no crazy ass shenanigans we can do where like we use Space Marine stratagems.
I definitely was guilty of that in early 8th edition. I brought a librarian from an Exorcist detachment in order to cast Libraria spells onto my Grey Knights.
Oh.
Because we needed anything.
Yeah. I guess I never played through the Grey Knights. I don't know. Route. Yeah, sure. But
yeah, we had it was
you already have the 1,000-yard stare right now, so just like you're like glancing out a window.
It was great. I loved it. Like it was fun knowing that, like, I don't know, when you play a really, really, really crappy army, every victory or like semblance of victory you have, you know you've earned, and there's something to be said for that. Like,
yeah,
like,
for sure.
And like, don't get me wrong, Space Marines are a ton of fun, and I don't think they're as like destructive as a lot of people say they are, especially not compared to Space Marine Winter of 2019 when Iron Hands and Imperial Fists were just ruining everybody. But
I've just heard the stories, so
yeah,
it sounds ridiculous. Yeah,
it was oppressive. At LVO, I literally got tabled every single game because I was playing against Imperial Fists just over and over again.
Or Iron Hands with their like just their feel no pain and their invuls on their whole army, and
and
crazy
Imperial Fists just
dreadnoughts.
ignored terrain, and 8th edition didn't have any standardized terrain rules, so you just had these like planet bowling ball kind of things where Imperial Fists would just erase you. Ugh. But I don't think modern Space Marines are the bugbear that most people make them out to be. And where was I going with this? I had like a whole direction.
No idea. No, it's fine.
It was really cogent, whatever it was I was gonna say. Damn, I had a whole thing.
Well, if you think about it, just like cut me off and just jump right in. But just so that we do go over it very quickly, the points changes that we know about from the new Munitorium field manual are Terminators are going up 4 points, which is a hard pill to swallow because they were already the most expensive Terminators in the game. But
we're getting an extra rune for 4 points.
I would like to also point out, and I will bring this up again later. So I play Deathwatch, right? So my Terminators are base of 33 points. They come with a Stormbolter. Power Sword is free. That's 33 points. You know what else they have over a Grey Knight Terminator? 1 whole leadership. I will bring this up again later, but a Deathwatch, and I think all other Firstborn Terminators, don't quote me on that, even though I probably will be, but have 8 for the squad members and 9 for the sergeant, and then Grey Knights are still 7 for the squad leader and 8. Yep. So
you are right. I've looked into it, and it's infuriating.
If we don't get another leadership, and this mattered in a game I had last weekend against a Necron player, where I was like, do I spend the 2 CP for insane bravery? No, I've got a 50-50 shot, and a Terminator ran away, and then another Terminator ran away. Even after my old and They Shall Know No Fear reroll, I failed it twice.
I'm not jazzed about losing that, just because I think almost objectively old and They Shall Know No Fear is not, is superior to the new one.
It is.
And so I like that we have that, but I've also had that situation where I've lost a leadership check by 1 point, and then I have to just think about how Space Marine Terminators are
would have made it. Yeah, no problem at all. They would have made it.
The only explanation I can see for that is that our Terminators are troops rather than elites, but that's dumb because our guys are supposed to be incorruptible, like unshakable demon killers. Why would all of our guys should be elites?
So I know this isn't a Deathwatch interview, but I will point out that you can actually bring Deathwatch Terminators as troops. They're the only other army in the game.
Outriders as troops too.
Yeah, although they're not. I don't actually believe that they're that good, but that's neither here nor there. The real reason that ours are so much more expensive is all the psychic shenanigans.
Yeah,
like when you stack, Armored Resilience and Sanctuary and Hammerhand and Astral Aim on one squad for that turn, they are just horrendous. They're gonna kill you in shooting, and then they're gonna charge you, and then they're gonna be very hard. They're going to kick your ass, and then they're gonna be very hard to move on your turn too. Because
no doubt there. Yeah, and I have no qualms about being charged a little extra for our psychic powers because that's rad. It's just at the moment our psychic powers are good, but most of the time my Grey Knights Terminator squads, because I give all of them Gate of Infinity in case I need to move them, most of the times they're going to be doing 1 mortal wound from a smite.
Yeah, and that just goes to show that you and I kind of play a little differently too. I don't generally bring paladins anymore. I bring one big blob of Terminators, and I use them kind of as KG paladins. And I hold objectives with strike squads, which I know you also pretty much run no power armor because, and I agree with you, one wound Space Marines feel really bad.
One wound Grey Knights of anything.
Yeah.
Like it's when Space Marines were also one wound, I could kind of swallow that pill, but like our guys are legitimately, and I know every chapter is special, but like legitimately our guys are supposed to be the rarest, most powerful of the Astartes with the best gear possible. And so knowing that one of my guys is T4 and a failed 3-up save away from death from a lad's gun, like that.
Yeah, from a flashlight.
Yeah, I can't abide that. Been running purifiers a bit lately and giving them warding staves, and they're a bit more chunky. They're a bit more survivable with that, which is nice.
I'll bring this up again later as well, but what has really made me angry when I use purifiers isn't the wound, it's the fact that they only have one base attack.
Oh my god.
So they roll up in a rhino, they climb out, they do some like, you know, they get off some crazy smites or something, and then they charge in, and you're like, ha, now I own this, which is true, but then they just like tickle the enemy.
Yeah.
Especially I play a lot of Death Guard, I'm just tickling them.
If we got the force weapon buffs that Space Marines got, maybe that would be a difference.
That's a whole I got a whole thing about ranged weapons and like melee weapons too.
Our weapons, like,
I
mean, they're absolutely going to get a buff. If
they
Four Swords don't go +1 strength, then I don't know. I love Four Swords. They're so cool.
So I love the halberds. I think they are iconic and they are so great, and I just love the look of them. I hope that they stay really good. And not just because 90% of my army has them. All right, 80%, but still. All right, so Terminators went up. Paladins are going down.
Yeah.
They're going from 50 points apiece to 47, which I did not expect. We have no idea what Paladins are going to get. We're going to talk about that later. I have no idea. Maybe they're going to lose the ability to bring twice as many heavy weapons, and that's part of the points balance thing. I don't know. That's a guess. Because right now they can bring in a squad of 5, in a squad of 5 you can bring 2 heavy weapons. So in a squad of 10 you can have 4, which is a lot. And Terminators are half of that. So I don't know if that's one of the things that they'll get. But the fact that like a Terminator is 42 points and a Paladin is 47 points now is like, why? Like, why not? Other than you don't have OBSEC.
Certainly, I mean, OBSEC is a huge portion of that. Like, my Terminators, being as tough as they are, have held a ton of objectives in the past just because they're troops. I think that the 47 points guarantees that Paladins are not going to get the 4th wound that some people think they're going to get. I think that's going to be reserved for Custodes Terminators.
I think we'll get back to this in the whole Paladins portion too, but you know, like 4 wounds is actually a bad place to be in this meta right now anyway, because you're either going to get shot with a Melta, or which is going to be more than 4 probably, or you're going to get hit with like 2 heavy bolters, and you're going to die to 2 heavy bolter shots whether you have 4 wounds or 3 wounds. So
that's true, but you're going to survive well, I guess you're not. You'll have a better chance of surviving most D6 weapons.
Yes, but like there's a lot of Melta in the game right now, and it's D6 plus 2.
Oh my god, what are the Dark Eldar ones called?
Dark Lances, which are D3 plus 3. Yeah, so that's exactly 4. Oh, the
Heat Lances on the tails of the big guys. What are those called?
I don't know.
The big floaty dudes.
I don't play Dark Eldar.
Chronos? Talos. That's what they are.
Yeah, I've never actually seen one of those. I've never actually seen one of those on the field, but yeah. So I mean, personally, I never thought 4 wounds was in the cards anyway, and just because of the fact that I don't really feel like 4 wounds is a good place to be in the first place. There's a lot of other things that they could do. I've written down some ideas, and we'll get to that later. I'm purposefully waiting to talk about Paladins, so So strike squads went up 2 points.
Reasonable.
No surprise. I base my 3-point increase for all of my infantry in my last bat rep on the fact that that's how much Space Marines went up when they got their second wound. I think they went from oh gosh, was it, they're 17 for a tactical Marine now, so they went up from 14 to 17. Anyway, they went up by 3 points. I'm like, that seems reasonable for like what Games Workshop thinks 1 wound is worth. So that's what I did. We actually came out ahead in that regard for our Strike Marines. So this actually makes them a little more expensive than an Incursor, and a lot less expensive than an Infiltrator. Well, 2 points less, but anyway. We don't know what else they're going to get, so... The thing that I don't see anybody talking about that I am super stoked about is that if we assume incinerators go to 12 inches like other flamer-style weapons, incinerators went down 7 points.
Yeah.
From 12 to 5. Like,
incinerators is such a cool weapon, and I have a handful of Terminators that all have incinerators that I just want to put into my squads, but I can't justify.
Yeah.
Oh God, what is
8
it?
inches.
It's what is it? Because it's a different price for Terminators. It is 15 points to give a Terminator an incinerator, which is obscene right now.
Right. So yeah, I'm looking at the Munitorum Field Manual right now, and it's only 5 points. Also,
yeah, no, I mean like right now it's 15 points.
Yeah, it's too much. It's too much. The Demon Hammers are gonna go down by 5 points as well. Psycannons are going up 3, at least for Terminator Squad, and then Silencers are also gonna go up 3. But Silencers appear to be free in a Strike Squad now.
It looks like.
And it looks like they are also it looks like they are also free now in a Purgation Squad, but a Purgation Squad also went up by 2 points. And that's how much it costs in the first place. So
big
that's the same
big point here, as far as if we're talking about weapons increases. Falchions appear to be free, which is awesome.
We'll see.
At the moment, it's 4 points to give a single guy a Falchion.
Well,
Falchions.
That's for 2. Yeah, some of the HQs can take 1, and then it's 2 points. But if you want to stick on like an an interceptor, which I'm also, that's a unit I love. I love them. I love everything about their lore and how they move around the field and their like special stratagems and stuff. Never use them because 1 wound feels so bad.
Feels so bad.
Yeah. But if you want to give them some Falchions, you're looking at 4 points per model, which goes from 20.
And it always felt like when that points change came in December of 2019, and we got that in the I remember in chapter approved, it said Nemesis Falchion 2 points. My first thought was, oh, okay, it's 2 points to give them a pair of Nemesis Falchions. I guess that's fair. They get an extra attack. And then everybody started talking about it, and we realized there's no S on there. It's not Nemesis Falchions 2 points.
Or
it's Nemesis Falchion 2 points. So that means you could take a sword for free, or 4 points. Increase the Terminator Squad's cost by 20 points to give them Falchions. And everyone in the Grey Knights community at that time assumed that was a misprint. Here we are almost 2 years later, and it's still that way.
No.
It doesn't make any sense.
I don't know what they're going to do. If they are free, then they're definitely not going to get the Lightning Claw treatment. Like, I thought they might have been increasing the points because they were going to make them Lightning Claws, basically. Like,
they didn't change
reroll
the stat
all
block
wounds. Well, we haven't seen the new codex. Was my point.
I mean,
like,
maybe 2019 when they increased the price, because it used to be they used to be free. The Falchions. It was just all of the melee weapons cost the same price, but everyone took Falchions because mathematically an extra attack
or better
is better. And I think GW saw that everybody at tournaments was taking only Falchions, so they thought that meant Falchions needed a price increase, and then no one took Falchions after that.
Well, as a halberd lover, I'm not like
halberds are our best weapon right now.
Not too caught up about it, but okay. So now we're gonna go into what I'd like to see. So we've gone over a little bit of like what we know and what we suspect. Now we're gonna get into the meat of this interview. Almost 1 hour in, so I love it. That's lots of good content. So I want to start right away with our melee weapons, and I want to start with. Obviously, we don't want them to be like they were in 5th, where apparently force weapons just killed you if they wounded you.
Yeah.
Like they just straight up killed you, which is I have no idea how that was a thing, but apparently it was, and it was insane. Obviously, I don't want to do that, but again, the Grey Knights, best of the best, like, you know, all this crazy rare weaponry. If you look at the lore behind their force weapons, they're like nemesis weapons. They're like like they have all the psychic, or they have psychic energy instilled upon them by all of their wielders for these thousands of years. You know, and they're like made in these crazy rare processes with these crazy rare materials, and you know, they're basically all little relics, effectively.
Absolutely.
And I would, you know, lore wise, which again, like we talked about separating lore from like good game design, but I would like to see them, first of all, lose the D3 damage. Like D3 damage feels bad. Like once again, randomized damage feels bad to me. I'd like to see them go like maybe not falchions, but like maybe swords and or halberds all go to base 2 damage, because like if to me, I think D3 weapons feel kind of bad.
I agree with you from a gameplay perspective. I have thoughts there though. To me, I've always pictured the D3 damage from a force weapon, because it is just force weapons. I guess not, but if you look at like the difference between a power sword and a force sword, the difference is that the force sword does D3 damage, and to me, that's that is the game telling me fluff-wise that there's psychic power involved in it, because when I think D3 damage, I think smite, like a bit in a normal army.
Yeah,
the smite does D3 damage, and so the sword hits you, it wounds you, you fail the armor save, and you essentially take the damage of a smite, which is D3.
Right.
So I've always thought of it that way. What I would like to see, and which would make me feel okay about the feel bad about variable damage like that, I would love to see force weapons when if they hit, they wound, and then you fail the armor save. So essentially, if like the target fails an armor save, then that target takes a D3 mortal wounds instead of the regular damage. It wouldn't change much against like vehicles and characters and stuff, but what it would do is if you like go up against a squad of like, I don't know, Eldar Guardians, and you strike him with your halberd, and the shot goes through, and he takes D3 damage.
Yeah, so
and the Guardian takes D3 mortal wounds, and his head explodes, and the other 2 around him also like take the damage.
Yeah. So I wasn't quite.
That'd be fun.
I wasn't quite done yet.
Sorry.
I was no. That's great. Like that is a thing I hadn't thought of. But mortal wounds do, like you said, keep going through like multiple models, right? I was thinking it might be neat to see them go to like, you know, if falchions stayed 1 damage, for instance, but then halberds were 2. You know, now you have another reason, and I don't know what the other strength and AP ought to be, but I'm saying that if they both cost nothing extra, and you're picking between, you know, strength or AP or whatever, if it might be nice to see force weapons get like they do exploding 6s for hits, or maybe they do extra AP on 6s to wound. And that way you're still getting the fact that they are special melee weapons without making them game, like, you know, if you just took the force halberd that we have now and then also made them like get exploding 6s to hit, you know, that'd be insane. Especially with some of the other things I'd like to see happen, like for instance, because we're not getting Primaris to stay competitive, I'd like to see everything in power armor and Terminator armor get another attack.
That'd be insane.
That's not a character, because like our strike squads right now cost 22 points versus an intercessor that's 20, and we have 1 less attack. We have 1 less wound at the moment, which we know won't be the case. We do have psychic shenanigans, obviously, but we have worse leadership too. So
that upsets me. It's interesting, and I don't think there's anything wrong with what you said. I think that that's accurate, and from a competitive standpoint, just to keep units viable, I think that makes a lot of sense. It's interesting just listening though, because I have a me, the way that my brain approaches it, I look at like the weird stuff that's happened in like the Death Guard Codex and the Drukhari Codex and now the Admech Codex. Um, I think that there are some fairly mundane things we could do to make them better, like another attack or additional AP on sixes or something like that. And
Mhm.
they'd be good. It would definitely boost us into a much more competitive army. I'd love to see something entirely different, though. Something that isn't really represented on
Yeah,
other weapons and other data sheets and other armies. Something that makes it feel. I will lean towards having something unique as opposed to something good, if
sure.
that makes sense.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And like I said when we started talking about that, I didn't think about mortal wounds at all. You know,
Yeah, that's this is where my brain went
sure.
because I think it's like a to me like a force weapon is the difference is that it has psychic power attached to it.
Yeah.
And so I'd love to see that displayed somehow
I
because
mean,
I
you
think
could
mortal wounds are mostly how we think of that.
we could I mean, we could split the difference, right? We're like if you roll sixes to wound, it does a mortal wound or two mortal wounds, and then because of the way mortal wound damage is um allocated, that actually happens at the end of the damage, like and
Yeah,
allocated
for sure.
damage, and that way you would get your cleaving damage. So it's just like a maelstrom of these force weapons just going off, right? Like lightning leaping between dudes. But yeah,
Certainly. And I think something like that is how it's going to go. I think they're going to improve our lethality in melee. God, I hope so. And even just, I mean, hell, at this point, I'd be happy with our force swords getting +1. Like
I
the
mean,
fact that
plus
we
one
don't have
strength
that,
would be huge. Yeah, right
the fact
now.
that we don't have that makes me so upset. I hate blade guards so much.
Yeah, yeah. They all have mastercrafted power swords. Like it's yeah, and Blade Guard didn't go up, by the way, in points. I was waiting for them
Really?
to go up by like 3 points or something. Nope, they didn't
What about
go up at all.
eradicators? Did they go up?
No, Eradicators didn't. Plasma Inceptors did. Bolt Inceptors went down again, thankfully, because they were already weren't being played, and then Games Workshop made them more expensive.
Yep.
Um, Eliminators went down, but this isn't a Space Marine
Yeah. I have
interview. But
the Emperor's Spears player in my group, and he's been jazzed about the Eliminators change, and I'm not looking
oh yeah,
forward to that.
I am
I
too.
have
I play
I have
Deathwatch.
such a scar in my heart from getting just stomped by Space Marines for like 3 months during that terrible time in 8th edition when the second codex came out. Ugh.
Um, so melee weapons, just to like close out
The weapons.
the topic. So if you look at power axe, power maul, power sword, right? They're all varying degrees of extra strength that you get, and then you get less and less AP. So like the sword is
Mhm.
+1 strength, -3 AP. I think the maul is +2 strength, -2 AP, and I think the axe is +3 -1. It might be the maul that's the +3 and -1. Anyway, how would you differentiate falchions from halberds, from warding staves, from swords? Obviously, the warding stave I don't know of another army in the game that has what the warding stave does. So I don't
Yeah.
really think the warding stave needs to change, except maybe get whatever all the other force weapons get. But or
Yeah,
and there's also the hammer. I almost forgot the
the
hammer.
hammer. The hammers, our hammers are the best right now, and that makes me so happy.
They're
Because
so
they
expensive.
retained their AP3. Uh,
So expensive.
it's I think certainly our four swords are going to get the +1 strength and keep the -3 AP. I would imagine that warding staves are going to look very, very similar to force staves in the Space Marine list, and then just also have. They might even
AP3
change
damage.
the invuln that they give you, and might do something else with it, like maybe like a psychic buff or something, something that actually reflects more like the defense of the like the mind that it's supposed to give. Um, I think that I genuinely don't know what they're going to do with halberds because as soon as force swords get a +1 to their strength, halberds are as they are right now.
Yeah.
Halberds will be useless. So they've got to do something.
Well,
But if they just
halberds.
increase the strength by 2, then you're putting the warding stave out of business.
Except the warding stays niche, really. Like, nobody brings it for the other stats. They bring it because of that, you know,
Yeah.
3-up
So it all
invul
depends on
if
what they do
you're
there.
purifier or whatever. So right now, a forest halberd is +3 strength, -2 AP, D3 damage. But you're right, the force
Right now, what?
sword right now, the halberd is +1 strength, -2
Hey, you said
AP.
+3. Okay, yeah.
I'm sorry.
I was like,
I
what?
must have
What am I
still
missing?
no, I must have still been thinking the invul save. Anyway, +1 strength, -2 AP, D3 damage. But you're right. As soon as the force sword goes to the same +1 strength, it'll now have better AP and the same damage. So it might be that the halberds just go up to +2 strength and keep the -2 AP.
Yeah.
Because that way you're you know, it's like the power maul versus power axe versus power sword thing.
It'd be
We
cool if they
might
gave it some sort of like. I think halberds and pole arms in any regard. I always think of being able to like hold, being able to hold back like attackers and things like that. And so
yeah,
it'd be cool if it gave them some sort of defensive bonus.
or set to defend if you're charged for free. I think there's a bunch of
Ooh, that would
admech
be
stuff that
interesting.
like does
Yeah,
that now. You can just set to defend, so you get one more attack in that fight phase or
that
whatever
would
it
be
is. I don't
interesting.
remember
Yeah,
how that works. So
it's a +1 to weapon skill.
yeah, which would be great for Terminators. Now
Be
they're all
really rad.
paladins.
Yeah.
All
That would be
paragons.
interesting.
Sorry. Yeah. So that would
That'd be
be
really
cool.
interesting actually.
Like if you just jam it in the ground and then hold it outwards. Yeah, that'd be
Yeah.
neat. So the falchions as they are right now are strength user, -2 AP, 3 damage, and you can make one more attack if you've got 2 of them. I
I mean, if
don't.
they're honestly, if they're free, I'd be fine with them holding that profile.
Yeah, I
Like
was gonna say I
sometimes you
don't.
just need horde clearing.
Isn't that the lightning claw, or is lightning claw -3 AP?
Lightning
And it's
claws,
only 1 damage though, so.
yeah, lightning claw is -2. It only does 1 damage, but it also has reroll wounds. And the lightning
Yes.
claw bonus attacks is per lightning claw, whereas the falchion is just
If
1 for
yeah,
2.
if you got 2. So yeah, I guess it could keep that profile.
Yeah, they'll
Especially if
probably.
they're free.
I,
Like
I
you said.
honestly think it'll get the lightning claw treatment though, with the 2 extra attacks rather than the 1.
Yeah, maybe they get that, not the reroll wounds.
Yeah, I think
Because
that's
the
what the
reroll
case.
wounds is really good.
Yeah, that'd be bonkers if it still had D3 damage at that point as well.
Yeah. All right, so ranged. Let's go into our ranged weapons. So I'm going to talk about one of my favorite units. I love my purgation squads. I pretty much max out as many heavy support. I just plop those little guys in there, and I do the Edict and Imperator stuff with them, and I do the Astral Aim stuff with them, and I do like Gate of Infinity, and I'm just annoying with them. I love them. I hate that when they move, they get the -1 to hit. Sisters, Retributors do not get -1 to hit if they move. I would love to see that treatment on my purgation squads.
It even says right here.
Oh, in the lore part?
In the book, in the lore, it says there are gravitic generators in the Psycannons and Silencers that allow the Grey Knights to use them on the move unencumbered. It legitimately says that in the lore, but they still get the -1 for moving.
Yep. So my little dudes, my favorite little dudes don't even, I mean, I'm hitting on 4s a lot of the time. If I'm doing all those cool shenanigans, I'm hitting on 4s, which, you know, obviously, you know, I have Caldor around or something, but like still hitting on 4s as a Space Marine, like a heavy weapon specific unit, when you can see other units in the game that don't suffer it. You know, I think there's even it might be a Forge World thing, but there is definitely a Forge World out there now in AdMech where their servitors, oh no, I think it's just their servitors in general. Yeah, don't. Yeah, the Cataphon specific servitors ignore moving and the movement penalty for heavy weapons. So I would like to see that as well.
It's almost certainly going to happen because Games Workshop, if like, I mean, I'm as critical of Games Workshop as anybody else, but they have been knocking it out of the park with fluff on the new codices. Like as complicated as they are, or as whatever. Anytime that I've talked with anyone who has bought a new codex for their favorite army, they are in love with it. The Death Guard player who comes on my channel sometimes, Aaron, he has played Chaos for 25 years now, and he says this Death Guard book is the best Chaos book he's ever had.
Oh yeah, like, I remember watching that one now. Yeah.
He is such a big fan of it. And my Drukhari friend, he absolutely loves the new codex. The AdMech guy that I played yesterday loved it. And so I have faith that Games Workshop is going to give purgation squads ignoring the -1 to moving because it says in the fluff.
Yeah, I do want to be clear, like, I'm excited for what's happening. And I not to say I'm the best player ever, I'm no like LVO winner, but you know, even against most 9th edition or top winning like lists piloted at least by my friends who are also not, you know, LVO like winners, I feel like I actually do pretty good with our 8th edition Grey Knights codex generally. Yeah. There are definitely times I get absolutely like curb stomped, like if I play Quins, like you said. Right, like flip belts and fusion pistols just make me mad.
Against Harlequins, it all depends on who goes first. Because if I go first, I can take out his boats, and then Stormbolters will rinse his little elves. But if he goes first, he's back in my deployment zone. He's destroyed all my vehicles.
Yeah,
nothing to do.
All right, so we'll continue into range weapons. So Silencer versus Psycannon. We touched on this a little bit already. We think Psycannons pretty much have to go to 2 damage base because otherwise they will continue to not be used, or unless they get a lot more shots or something.
Put money on a Psycannon being heavy 3, strength 7, AP 1, 2 damage.
Oh, so you think they're gonna go down 1 shot but go up 1 damage?
I think that's the case. If this guy, the twin Psycannon from the Banisher, is anything to go by, and I believe it is.
You already said that.
I think that's the case. I'd put money on that.
Yeah, because like you said, twin is basically the same thing, but with just twice the shots. So
taking them together. Yep.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like like the old combi bolters.
Combi bolters.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't argue with that. I mean, it would already make them the best heavy bolters in the game, effectively.
Yeah.
Because instead of strength 5, they'd be strength 7.
Which is so much more applicable against so many different targets.
Yeah, for sure. So then, yeah, what like you said, what do we do with the enigma that is the Silencer? It's got high damage, but it's got a lot of shots, but it's got low strength, but it's got low AP, but it has a lot of damage. Like,
it's such a weird weapon. Because I want to, again, that D3, I always want to fire it at vehicles or something because there's a lot of damage, but you don't want to fire it at vehicles because none of it's going to get through.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to like fire it at gaunts or something.
No. No. I don't know. The Silencer is an interesting weapon. It has to fill a certain niche, and I guess if we think about what niches are missing for Grey Knights, like anti-vehicle killing, like at range, is a big thing for us. Yeah. We can crush tanks in melee, but it'd be cool to see the Silencer. It'd be cool to see the Silencer have either higher strength, higher AP, and keep the D3 damage. Even strength 4, AP 1, like. It's a little bit better at cracking tanks, or strength 5, AP 0. Just something, a small push to put it into that like tank killing field. I just want it to do something.
So is that not what a strength 7 Psycannon, is that not now our anti-tank? Like strength 7 before tides, before stratagems are spent on them, like that's gonna wound rhinos and stuff on 7 or
absolutely.
on 4s. Because they're both strength and toughness 7. So
Yeah, absolutely. Which I think will probably fill that niche a lot. But
so then what if they leaned the other way with the silencer and they like kept the low AP and the low strength, but maybe went down to like 1 or 2 damage and then increased the shots even more? Like they made it a horde clearing weapon, but we already do that so well with storm bolters. Like,
exactly, that's what I was thinking. Like storm bolters are already kicking out 4 shots exactly like that. So like,
yeah, exactly.
And that's the thing. I just don't know what niche a silencer fills. And I see some people swear by them, and I'm sure it works for them. But I've just never. I look at that stat line, and I have absolutely no idea what to do with it. Because I mean, if you're getting 2 more shots than a storm bolter for clearing out like 1 wound to troops. The Storm Bolter, though, is not getting the -1 to move. I prefer the Storm Bolter, honestly. I prefer 4 shots hitting on 3s as opposed to 6 shots hitting on 4s.
Yeah, no, I feel you. I don't like the movement penalty at all.
Yeah, they got to do something with this silencer because I think I just don't know what niche it fills right now. Like, I don't know what to do with it.
I guess, yeah, so if the... Would you keep the 24-inch range of the Psy cannon, or would you like to see it go to the heavy bolter range of 36? Because like we are one of the only armies in the game where almost all of our range, at least from our infantry, is like it's all 24 inches, all of it. Like,
yeah.
What's the range on that? 24.
If the twin Psy cannon is anything to go by, the range is staying at 24 inches.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Maybe silencers could get a further range, but they don't really look like long-range weapons, do they? They look like close-range, like horde clears.
They're big old miniguns, man. They're enormous. They're actually. I think the model is actually bigger than the Psycannon model, like the actual gun. I've only got silencers up here right now.
I've got like a silencer somewhere down.
And I don't know if my camera will even focus on it. There it goes. Hey, that's actually pretty good. Yeah,
you know,
like you see how beefy the gun is?
Yeah. I don't know. It's difficult to say. Like sometimes you get some like the Psycannon. To me, the Psycannon looks like it should have longer range, but it only has 24. And then you get stuff like the Dummel. What is he called? The Phobos captain from Space Marines, and his gun is like, I can shoot through walls at like 36 inches.
I know he gets lookout,
look like that.
I know he can ignore lookout, sir. I know he also ignores cover. I don't think he ignores line of sight, does he?
Oh, that might be a special Raven Guard relic.
Does the Phobos captain ignore line of sight?
I don't know. He might. He used to have a relic or something he could take that could do that. I used to get stomped all the time by Raven Guard Phobos, and he just his captain had a. I think it was a Raven Guard relic. It was like a 3 damage bolter, and he'd just shoot my characters through walls, and I fucking hated it.
So it's Assault 1, 30-inch range, so it is actually fairly long range, and then they can ignore Lookout Sir. That's all it. Yeah. That's all it has on that profile. I'm not gonna get into the rest of what it's like what he's got, but yeah. I mean, even going up to 30 inches on all of our heavy weapons might be nice in general. Like, have something to do some kind of, like, standoff with. Because, I mean, but we can gate everywhere. I don't know. Like, all of our crap can deep strike, you know? Like,
I usually don't think we need it, except for the very beginning of the game. We need some long-range stuff.
Yeah, all the board sides are smaller than they were in 8th as well. So
true.
Yeah, so I guess I guess let us know in the comments below what you think we should do with silencers.
What do you do with silencers?
We don't know. I know that right now they feel better to use than Psycannons, but if Psycannons go to 2, other than the fact that silencers are cheap and free for a lot of units right now, I don't know if I'll rock a whole lot of them.
It all depends on. Oh, excuse me. It all depends on what they do. I think that's difficult to speculate on without knowing literally anything at this point.
So, we've been talking for an hour and a half, which has been great.
Nice.
And we're probably only about half done, if I'm totally honest. But now is when I'm going to let our users know that we're actually splitting this interview up into two videos. One will be on NoobHammer, and one will be on One Last Blade. And to make sure that you click and go over to Stefan's YouTube channel and actually watch it, I want you to know that we're still gonna talk about general buffs and things that we'd like to see, secondaries, vehicles, and paladins, because I know that is a huge topic of conversation on every Grey Knights Facebook page and the Grey Knights Reddit and the Grey Knights Discord that I'm a big member of. So we're gonna cut it off here. We'll see you guys over on One Last Blade.
Excellent. Great.